weekly live stream. I hope everyone is having a good day or a good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Today, we're going to talk about how to learn Japanese in 2025. If you joined last week, you know that Risa is away on vacation, so I have the privilege of joining you this week for our live stream, as well as last week's live stream. Risa will be back in a couple of weeks, but I hope that you enjoy today's lesson. So today we're going to talk about building your study plan and some tricks and techniques and tips to help make sure that you learn Japanese or you go to the next level in your Japanese studies next year. Last week, if you joined last week's live lesson, we talked about some reasons that people don't do so well with their Japanese goals and some things that you can do to prepare better for the next set of goals you have for yourself. So today's live stream lesson will be a continuation of that topic, and we're going to focus now on how to put everything we learned from last week into practice, to make a study schedule for yourself, to check your own level, to set your own goals, to make commitments so that you make 2025 or whatever year you're watching this video really, really efficient for your language learning. And you can use this for any language. It's not just for Japanese, but of course, we're going to focus on that. So today, I'm also going to talk a little bit about some things that helped me in my Japanese studies too. So I hope that it is helpful for everybody. And of course, please feel free to share your topics, your ideas in the live stream chat, and I'll try to check that live. Really quickly, while we wait for everyone to join us live, I want to make sure to mention this banner at the bottom of the screen that says get up to 60% off. So the team has created some amazing holiday deals at Japanese Pod 101. So check the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. You can find a few different deals on this page that are going on during the holiday season this year. So check the page and see if there's a deal that looks great for you. You're looking at a couple of them on the screen here now. So make sure to go and get those before the deadline. I think it's on the top of this page too, so that you can make sure. Yeah, thank you. There we go. Oh, ends at midnight. Oh my gosh, that's soon. Okay, so make sure to go and take a look at that page. Now is an amazing time to start. You can go and get your free, I think that there's some free things here and there. Anyway, go and get whatever discount is most appealing to you now so that you can be ready in 2025 with your new set of goals, which I hope you're going to create today in today's lesson. Okay? So with that in mind, yeah, don't forget to check the link. I'll remind you again later. Okay, 皆さんこんにちは. If you weren't joining last week, if you didn't join the live stream last week, 久しぶり. If you did join last week and you saw me last week, hello again. こんにちは. So let's get into today's topic. Today we're going to talk about making your study plan, essentially. A whole bunch of stuff that personally I really like to do at the beginning of every year, just to kind of reflect a bit and look at how to move forward. Yeah, what do you want to do differently? What did you do a good job with? And how do you set new goals for yourself? Yeah, so let's get into it. If you haven't, also please make sure to like this video and share it, because it actually helps other people find the content and find the lesson. And this topic, again, this is useful for all language learning. So I hope lots of people see it. こんにちは, everybody who is joining. Okay, では行きましょう. First, number one, check yourself. So, point number one, I think lots of people forget to do this, and it's too bad. So, by check yourself, I mean understand where you are in your language learning process. And you might think, well, how do I do that? So a tool that I like to recommend a lot, and that I know that we use here and that you can access via JapanesePod101.com, is what's called a can-do list. I've used this in language learning classes, Japanese language learning classes, of course, outside of JapanesePod101.com. And these are amazing tools for checking your progress and understanding where you are now, and being able to use this to look back at where you were, like say 3 months ago or 6 months earlier, to see like where you've progressed. So what is a can-do list? So a can-do list is a huge, like, I don't know, depends on which kind of list you're looking at, but it's a big list of questions that you have to answer for yourself based on whether you can do them or you can't do them, or you can kind of do them. And so these lists are broken up into categories like speaking, reading, writing, communication, and so on. So the idea is that you are able to self-assess your language skills at that point in time. And what this does is it gives you, the first time you take the test, it gives you a baseline for where you're currently at in your studies. So if you're a super beginner, if you've never studied Japanese in your life, that's fine. So your answers will all be like, oh gosh, I can't do this, I can't do that, and that's okay. You have to start somewhere. However, if you take the test once when you're a super beginner, and then you take it again 3 months in the future, and again 6 months in the future, you will start to see that you are making progress. You are able to do things that you were not previously able to do. So I'm going to give you a quick example of a can-do, some sample kind of can-do questions. And we're going to talk about why it's important to answer these honestly and how you can use them, okay? So let's take a look at the first example sentence. You can answer these for yourself if you want. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about finding the big lists too later if you don't have access to one of those. Okay, so let's take a look at the first example. So maybe I think that some of you have been studying Japanese for a while. Let's take a look at this example can-do question. It is very simple. Can I talk about my hobbies? Right? Can I talk about my hobbies? This is not about like, you know, can I use the most intense grammar I know to talk about my hobbies? Just simply, are you able to talk about your hobbies? Here we have talk, right? So this doesn't mean write, yeah? So you need to pay attention to these, the verbs that are used in these kinds of questions, because usually can-do lists are broken into the different language learning skills. So this is a speaking question, right? Can I talk about my hobbies? Your answers, usually on a can-do test, are something like this. They are yes, with difficulty, or maybe it's challenging, or no. So when you look at this question, what do you think? What's the answer for you? Can you talk about your hobbies? In my case, the answer is yes. I can talk about my hobbies. So in this case, I would circle the thing that I can do. But maybe for some of you, maybe if you've been studying for a little while, but you don't feel so confident, maybe you would say, it's difficult. If you cannot do it at all, you don't know how to express your hobby, you don't know the grammar you need to use, you would use no for your answer here. Yeah? So everybody has a different answer, right? So maybe if you feel confident, you could say yes. Okay, I can talk about my hobbies. If your answer is not yes, that's okay. That's fine. Everybody is different, and that's the point of this. Yeah? All right? So let's continue on to the next one. The next question. Can I make a restaurant reservation on the phone? Can I make a restaurant reservation on the phone? So this is a question about both your speaking skills and your listening skills, right? Can I make a restaurant reservation on the phone? So again, if you have no problem picking up the phone and calling a restaurant and saying, hi, I'd like to make a reservation, please, and then you can complete the whole process of making the reservation, your answer is yes, I can do it. If you feel like, I maybe could do it, I feel really nervous, I'm not sure if I could say the right words, or I've tried and then it was just a mess. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I feel like I could maybe do it if I had some practice. Your answer could be with difficulty, or it's challenging. If you feel like, oh man, I don't even know where to begin, I don't even know the word for reservation, it's yoyaku. So if you don't know where to start at all with that, your answer would be no. And all of these answers are fine, right? This information is just for you. Okay, so if you do this, if you look at this for yourself, what is your answer? Okay, I'm going to try to check the comments. Some people are writing some things that aren't really related to the topic. People, 電話でレストラン予約はできるかな？できるかな? Yeah, if you have that kind of like, できるかな? なんかやったことないんだけど、できるかな? Like, I've never done it before, but I feel like I could. Maybe you'd be in the with difficulty section. So this is something that you kind of have to try to do before you can answer it yourself, yeah? Or maybe you have the opportunity to practice it in your class, yeah? But if you like come to this question and you're like, I don't even know the word yoyaku, how do I like listen to them? What are they gonna ask me? And it fills you with dread, then probably your answer is no. So let's say, for example, your answer is with difficulty here. Like, ちょっと緊張する. Like I get a little bit nervous. ね? ちょっと緊張するね. So let's say your answer is with difficulty. And then let's move on to the next question. Again, there's no problem saying that's challenging for me. We want to know what things are challenging for you. We're going to use this information. Okay? So next one. Can you see it? Yeah. Can I give a business presentation? Can I give a business presentation? If you've been studying Japanese for a little time, you probably know that there's business level Japanese, right? Keigo, ne? You have to use very polite language, right, in business situations, yeah? So this is a high level of Japanese, right? So when you look at this question, how do you feel? Maybe some of you are advanced learners out there that are watching. That's very cool. And you see this and you go, yes, I can do that. I do that every month at my job. Or maybe you look at that and you go, I've done a few kind of presentation type things here and there at work. It was tough. Like, I would still put you in the yes category personally, but maybe if you don't feel good and confident about doing a full presentation for yourself, you might say, okay, maybe with difficulty I could do that. If you look at this and you go, I don't know Keigo at all. I don't know how to use polite conversation. I can talk to people like in my class and I can talk to my friends, no problem, but I have no idea how to use business Japanese. Your answer might probably be no, yeah? So you can put your answer in the chat. 皆さん、発表とかはできますか？ビジネスの。男性はビジネスのプレゼントをしたことがないよ。そうだね。なんかね、みんな大体ね、まあ、こういう発表したことはないかもしれないよね。Maybe never had the opportunity to do a business presentation. So, if your answer is no, that's fine. So, let's say, for this one, our answer is no. Okay? So, in this example situation, we have 3 answers to 3 questions, right? So, of course, a regular can-do list is going to have a lot more questions in each section. It will maybe have like 20 or so questions, and you'll fill in your answer for each one, okay? For today, obviously, we can't do a whole can-do list of questions, but I want to show you at least the principle here. When we make our study plans for ourselves, we need to continually challenge ourselves, yeah? We need to kind of progressively overload ourselves. For those of you who go to the gym or something like that, maybe you've heard that expression before. But we need to make sure that once we're able to do something, we move on to the next thing. So with that in mind, if we look at our first can-do question, can I talk about my hobbies? In this example, the person said, yes, I can talk about my hobbies. Great. The person in this case knows how to do that, so they should move on to the next topic. If you just keep practicing hobbies, why? What's the point? You're never going to move on to the next thing, right? You get comfortable talking just about your hobbies, right? And then you never move on to the next challenge, yeah? So if you have a yes in your can-do list answers, that means, okay, great. I can stop thinking about that so much. I can stop focusing so much energy on that topic and go on to the next thing. However, if the answer, on the other hand, is no, like you think, oh my gosh, I cannot give a business presentation, that is an indicator, a decent indicator, that that's maybe too hard for you right now. If you're like a beginner watching this live stream and you're like, oh my gosh, a business presentation? No way, that's insane. That means it's probably way too difficult for you right now. So if you decided oh, I'm gonna really try to challenge myself and buy a business Japanese book and I'm gonna study hard every day, no. You're gonna destroy your motivation. It's gonna be way too hard. The challenge level is gonna be way up here. That's a great goal to have, which we're gonna talk about in just a minute. A great future goal to have. But for where you are in your studies right now, that's too much, yeah? So that's the reason we want to look for these answers that have this with difficulty vibe about them, yeah? Like, can I make a restaurant reservation on the phone? It's like, maybe, I feel like I could do it, or I've tried before and I kind of did it. I needed a lot of help. I had to pass the phone to someone else, whatever, right? If you notice, oh, that's a with difficulty thing, those are the kinds of things that you can focus your attention on. So even if you don't have a class that you go to regularly, even if you don't have a specific kind of curriculum you're following, if you can get a can-do list for yourself and take a look at your answers, this is a great way to assess your level right now. So I think this is a really great thing to do at the beginning of the year. And in the past, when I've used these in my Japanese classes, I'm not taking classes now, but I did before, we would take these tests about every 3 months. So kind of when the class finished, we would take the test again, and then we would choose our next classes according to the level that we got from our can-do question answers. So for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, where do I find one of these? So you can just, honestly, you can do a Google. You will find results if you Google like can-do list or can-do questions specifically for Japanese. You can use that. We also have some on, if you have the Japanese Pod 101 subscription, you will find some can-do lessons that are focused on answering these kinds of questions. So if you are a member there, definitely check that out if you have not done that before. Yeah, you can also use ChatGPT if you want to generate a big list. I would personally go with lists that have been defined by educational institutions because those exist. Although those tools like ChatGPT are really handy and really easy to use, I would definitely recommend that you do a search around for some things that have been actually created by educational institutions to make sure that the questions that you're getting are appropriate and that are really targeted to the kinds of things that you want to learn, okay? So that would be my recommendation. If for some reason you struggle with that, maybe you could use ChatGPT. Okay, let me see what's in the chat. Five-toed sloth bear. This is good because it'll help me seek out vocabulary I need. Sometimes I can't describe my day because I don't know the words. Yes, because they're really helpful for that, for finding gaps in your vocabulary. This is still something that happens to me. Like I'll want to say a thing that like I haven't needed to say before, or it's just kind of a word I don't need to use a lot, and I'll just be like, how do I say that? That happened to me like at dinner last week with some friends. I was like, how do I say this thing? And I was like, it's like, and then I kind of tried to give an example of it, and then they gave me the word that I needed, and I was like, oh, of course, that's it, yeah. So that's something that is really, really helpful for your vocabulary studies, obviously, but this can also give you a good guidance for grammar as well. Like if you notice that like you can't do a lot of like future planning discussions or writing or something like that. This can help you to notice some patterns as well. Okay, let's continue. Actually, it's talking about podcast. そうだね. If you are at the level that you can listen to podcasts or YouTube videos, those are awesome ways to do some listening skill building. では Let's see, what else is out there? 野菜の目的を大切にするね。そうだね. So, in part 2, we're going to talk about some goals. We'll move on to that. So, let's take a quick break. Phew, that was a lot to get through. I think we made it. Let's take a super quick break. In case you missed it earlier, our team has a 60% off, up to 60% off discount happening at JapanesePod101.com right now. How amazing is that? If you want to study with us, now is an amazing time to begin. You can scroll down on this page, which Control Desk is showing you right now, to find all of the different deals that the team has prepared for you for the holidays. So if you've been thinking about studying with us, or if you want to level up your plan, if you want to get some new tools, if you want dialogues and transcripts and translations, if you want your own teacher, which I'm going to talk about later, you can find so many different tools. Go and make sure you have a look at the different deals that we have for the holiday season this year and grab it. Grab it so you're ready for 2025. Okay, let's continue to part 2. If you haven't, please make sure to hit the like button and share this video so that other people can find the lesson for today and for the year, really, to start the year off. よろしくね. Okay, では part 2行きましょうか. So, part 2, I'm going to just quickly review this because we talked about it last week. Last week we talked about setting SMART goals for yourself. SMART. This SMART has a special meaning behind it. If you joined me last week, we'll review quickly, just very quickly. So if you did not join last week, a SMART goal is a goal that is specific. It is a goal that is measurable. Did we do it or not? Did we study 100 vocabulary words or 50, right? We can measure that goal. It is achievable. That means you can do it. It's something that you can actually do. If you're a beginner and you say, I'm going to learn all the Japanese and I'm going to pass N1 in 6 months, maybe not achievable, right? So it is an achievable goal. Realistic is the study schedule you make for yourself to achieve your goal realistic for you or not. And finally, it is a time-based goal. So that means you have a goal for yourself for every week, maybe, or every month, or you have a deadline for the year, something like that. So, last week we talked about goals that are not SMART. A lot of language learners write, I want to be fluent. I want to speak like a native person. But that is not a SMART goal. Those are not SMART goals. Why? It's not specific. I want to be fluent. What does that mean? How do you know if you are a fluent speaker? Would I say I'm a fluent speaker? Sometimes. Sometimes I don't know the vocabulary word, right? Like I talked about earlier, yeah? In those moments, I'm like, oh, I don't feel very fluent right now because I didn't know this word. But in other like everyday life situations, I'm fluent, right? So how do we measure fluency accurately, right? It's not specific. Can we measure fluency? Well, you might say with like the JLPT, yeah? But those aren't really communication tests. Those are tests about your ability to study for a test, yeah? Different kind of thing. Is it achievable? Yeah, maybe, but again, like how do we know when we've achieved fluency? Is it realistic? Could be, depends on how long you want to study. Is it time-based? No. If you just say, I want to be fluent, it's like you have no timeline or deadline, right? These don't help you because they don't give you clear targets. They don't give you clear goals to aim for. So let's look at some examples of actual SMART goals. Diba. My goal is to pass JLPT N2 next year. Maybe this year, maybe you passed N4 or maybe N3 this year. So you're like, all right, my goal is to do N2 next year. If that's your goal, go for it. I wish you all the best of luck. That's awesome. N2 is tricky for sure. Maybe your goal is to learn 100 vocabulary words each month. Nice goal. 100 vocabulary words each month, that's awesome. You build your vocabulary way up in 1 year. That's amazing. Or, my goal is to complete 3 video lessons each week. That's a great goal, right? So maybe that means you do grammar lessons, or maybe that means you do just listening practice, whatever it is for you, yeah? These are all examples of SMART goals because they're specific. What is the goal? We can say specifically what we're gonna do, right? Pass N2, 100 vocabulary words, 3 video lessons each week. It's very specific and very clear. We can measure each of these goals. Did we do it or not? Are they achievable? Well, depending on the person who says the goal, yes. Are they realistic goals? Probably, yeah, probably. Are they time-based? Time-based, yes. We have next year, each month, each week. So by giving yourself these clear targets to aim for, in this case, on a year level, on a month level, and on a weekly level, you have something to do always, right? And everything is working towards you achieving that goal. We're breaking it down to small pieces that are digestible, and then they all go towards achieving your larger goal, right? We love that. Okay, let's see. Oh, someone on Facebook wrote, I just passed N4 and I give myself 1 year to pass N3, a lot of work. Woo, congratulations, that's awesome. That's such a good feeling. Congratulations, omedetou, that's good. Okay, let's continue on to number 3 then. Once you have your goal for yourself, or series of goals for yourself, the next thing that is super, super helpful to do is to make a commitment. Make a commitment outside yourself. Commit to something externally. So if it's only you, if you are the only person who knows your goal, you are the only person to be accountable to. If you can do that, you're amazing. That's fantastic. I know for me, when it comes to like my study goals or something that's like feels kind of optional, I tend to get lazy, honestly. I'll go like, I'll get to it when I can. And sometimes I really do pick it up, but a lot of the time it's like, I meant to do that this week, but then it gets pushed a week out or something like that. Like maintaining that consistency can be really challenging. So for this reason, if you commit to something outside yourself, you can help to kind of build in that sort of consistency and keep the motivation up when you're feeling kind of down or when your motivation dips a little bit. Having something external to hold you accountable can be so helpful. So here are some examples. 1, sign up for a class. If you have a class in your city, awesome, you can try attending that. If you have an online class, you can do that. If you have a tutor or something like that, get an online tutor. You can have a regular tutor session to practice. Whatever that is, you can do a class or a session that you have to be prepared for, that you have to show up for. That's a really great way to make a commitment for yourself. You can register for a test. So that might be the JLPT. That's probably the most widely known test, but maybe you know of some other tests that would be really helpful for you. So you could register for that. That might be another great way to improve and keep your motivation up. Another one, I know many people do this one, plan a trip. So if you want to visit Japan and you want to use Japanese here and you know that you're going to be expected to, try to communicate with locals a bit, planning a trip could be a good way. This is probably the most expensive way to make a commitment on this list. There's also no guarantee that your language skills are going to be like, really going up. This was maybe my least favorite on this list. It's the most fun, probably. This is the most expensive and maybe my least favorite idea on this list, but if you want to try that, you can do that. I would suggest if you're looking for an outside motivator to do one of these. I know, many years ago, when I was trying to motivate myself, I signed up for N2. And even though I didn't really care so much about the test itself, to be honest, I really just didn't want to fail. And so that made me really want to study and my motivation went up. And then I passed N2. I was like, yeah, that was really great. That was a long time ago, but that was a really great motivator for me at that time. So that's something like, even if you don't care so much about the test result, even if you don't care so much about what happens in the test, you can just use that for motivation. Maybe you're like me and you just hate to fail at something. So that can be something that's really, really helpful for you. This is not an expensive thing. It's maybe if you can plan, how much does it cost? Like $50 or so to take the test? I haven't looked in a long time. Anyway, that can be a really great way for you to keep your motivation up. Okay, some people are writing some comments. Actually, I set a goal to watch 2 episodes of Japanese anime without subtitles in 1 week. That's nice. That's good. So maybe to improve your listening skills. Another thing that I recommend, I'm not really talking about it here today, but just also keep in mind to watch out for the difference between active study and passive study. Especially, I know lots of people like to use Japanese media to study, which I think is wonderful. But watch out and make sure that you are actively participating in what you're watching. So that means that you're not just playing it in the background. Yeah, you are actually watching it. Like if a new word pops up in the show, great, just stop it really quickly and look it up and make a list of the vocabulary words you're picking up. Don't just go, okay, I'm studying and put something on in the background. Not to say that you're doing this actually by any means, but just a quick reminder. Make sure that you're not doing just a bunch of passive listening practice. I know it's easy to fall into that trap. Make sure that you're doing lots of active, hard brain work kinds of study. Okay. Oh my gosh, time is going so quickly. Phew. Let's go to the next one. Oh, someone on Facebook wrote it's about $100 in Canada to pass the JLPT test. To register for one? Wow, it's gotten really expensive. Really? Wow. I think it was maybe Gosen or something like that when I took the test a long time ago here. Wow, times have changed. Oh my goodness. Well, if it is that expensive in your country, I hope that you can save up for it if you want to use that for motivation. If not, there are some other ideas here too, or getting an online tutor or online kind of language exchange partner that can help. Okay, other comments online. There are some things that are a little bit strange that I will not read. So let's continue to the last part, number 4, create your personalized study plan. So with all of this information that we've talked about today, checking yourself, doing can-do tests to understand your level, setting SMART goals for yourself, making a commitment. Let's say you did step 1, step 2, and step 3, and you are excited. You are ready to go. You maybe even have some resources. We talked about that last week, making sure you have all of your study resources ready to go so that you know what you're going to study in your study time. Okay? Let's say it's time to create your personalized study plan. Sorry, it's a little bit bright there. Is that better? Yes? Okay, now we can see. Good. So, think about this. I have designed this last point for today with kind of key study categories in mind, right? Because I think that sometimes we kind of forget that language requires lots and lots of different skills, yeah? And we get very oh, I need to learn all the vocabulary. If I learn all the vocabulary, I will be fluent. It's that's part of it, yes, but we need to think about this very holistically, right? So how do we study vocabulary? How do we study grammar? How do we practice listening? How do we practice speaking and writing, right? So today I've kind of broken this up into just some sample things that you can integrate into your own personal study plan. Again, everybody will be different, but using the information you got for yourself here and with your goals and with your personal commitment, these are some ideas for you. So for your vocabulary studies, yeah? For example, maybe you can say, I'm going to do flashcard study on my commute every day, maybe to work or to school and coming back. This is one, I always talk about this. This is one that I did for me many years ago, and my vocabulary just went pew, because it was 30 minutes every day of vocabulary study, 5 days a week. So that was amazing for me personally. I can recommend that. I used a flashcard app. Or maybe you commit to doing flashcards during your lunch break. You're like, okay, I have 15 minutes that I'm going to do only flashcards in every single day during my lunch. Great. Whatever it is, you have some kind of commitment and you have a time in mind that you're going to do that thing. Okay? Second, let's look at some sample grammar ideas. What can you do to make sure you have grammar built into your study plan? Maybe you do 2 grammar videos per week in the evenings. You have, let's say, Tuesday and Thursday are your grammar study evenings. So you watch the video and if you use JapanesePod101.com, you make sure that you review all the lesson notes and the transcripts and the translations. You do the full grammar video lesson. Great. So if you have that twice a week, amazing. You're building your grammar. That's awesome. Okay? And then another idea, maybe you're using a textbook if you have a class, or if you're just using a textbook for self-study, maybe you commit, okay, I'm going to do 1 textbook lesson each week. Like, this is my grammar textbook. I will make sure to study 1 of these every week to make sure that I'm consistent. Yeah? Okay. Jamkilla wrote, how many new words or cards did you do early on? Early on, like when I first started studying Japanese? Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I started studying like when I was in high school, and I just started with like hiragana and katakana. I don't think I started using flashcards. And for actually quite a while, I was kind of just using like lists, and I would write on like a piece of paper. I'd write all the words on a piece of paper, and then I would look at that, and then I'd try to remember the word in English and write that next to it in English. And then I'd fold the paper so that I could hide the Japanese words, and I was left with only the English words, and then I'd have to try to recall the Japanese words again. So I was kind of making like these recall lists for myself, if that makes sense, early on. Flashcards, like I described on my commute, if I had to guess, it might have been like 20 or 30 words per session or so. It was only like 12 to 15 minute commutes every day. But I would imagine that's, yeah, maybe like 20 to 30, because there'd be times when I'm like, what is this word? I don't know. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's how I started and what really helped me in my commute vocabulary study times. Okay, continue. Listening. So if you want to build up your listening skills, somebody mentioned podcasts earlier. That's a great thing to do if you're at the level for podcasts. You can do 1 audio dialogue practice per day. So if you drive to work or to school, you can listen to the audio dialogue or something like that while you're on your way. Or you could try 1 YouTube video per week. It doesn't have to be a language learning video also. I want to point that out. It could be about your hobby. It can be about a topic you're interested in. It can be whatever you want, right? You just need to choose something that you commit to once a week in this case. Okay, time is gone. So let's finish the last 2. Speaking, some speaking examples. For example, if you take a class, 2 conversation classes per week, and if you go to a conversation class, speak up. You're there to practice your speaking. Don't be shy. That is the perfect place for you to make all your mistakes. You will get so much benefit out of doing that. Or another example, daily speaking practice with your online teacher. If you use JapanesePod101.com's online teacher, if you have a subscription that comes with a teacher, make sure you use that service so you can send like an audio recording to your teacher, and then they will listen to it and give you feedback. Dude, that's amazing, right? So if you have that feature, make sure that you use it. If you have a different online tutor, make sure that you have some kind of speaking practice that you are integrating into that. And lastly, for writing practice, yeah, we can see that. A couple of ideas. I know a lot of people like to do a diary entry every day where they write about what they did that day or what's coming up for them. And I know another thing a lot of people like to do is social media posts. So I've made a a suggestion here of one weekly social media post. So I know some people have a social media, like a Twitter or an Instagram, that's specifically designed for their language studies, which is awesome. If you can maybe put a post there that's just in the language that you're studying, that's really cool. In my case, I always commit to writing my social media posts bilingually. So like when I put a post up on Instagram, I'll write the caption in English, and then I'll make sure to be like, okay, I'm not going to be lazy. I'm also going to write it in Japanese. So that has been a really good way for me to make sure that I always keep up my Japanese skills and my writing skills and communication skills online as well. So these are just a few ideas that you can pull from for your study plan that is unique to you. All right, phew, I covered it all. That was a lot. Phew, phew. But we did it. Okay, so we'll finish there for today. If you would like to take a screenshot of this, I'll get out of your way so you can do that. Great. So I hope that today's lesson gave you a nice framework for your Japanese studies for 2025. This is something that I think is wonderful to do, of course, at the beginning of the year. But like I said, it's also really helpful to revisit your can-do lists a few times a year because it helps you to track your progress and to understand where you can go next, right? So I hope that everybody enjoyed today's lesson. Thanks for sending your comments and your questions live. I really enjoyed that. But I will say goodbye for now, and I'll say goodbye for this year, perhaps, I suppose. Risa will be back in 2 weeks, I believe. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining me this week and last week. And I wish you all the best of luck in your Japanese studies. So have a great week. Have a happy holiday and a happy new year. If you want to make sure to get the team's special deal, the holiday deals, make sure to check the link below or above the video to grab that now, because that's an amazing, amazing chance to get started and get ready for 2025. So have a happy holiday. Have a great new